This is the PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar for Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, and it is Yom Shlishi, third day of the week, the 20th day of Nisan, 5786, and we are the eve of the end of the Passover holiday, which is called the seventh day of Passover, which commemorates the crossing of the sea of the Israelites. And it's a time of miracles. It's a time of faith and redemption. And we celebrated the beginning of our freedom about a week ago, almost a week ago, with the Passover Seder and commemorating the Passover offering, Passover lamb, and our freedom from slavery. And we talked about that on the Seder night. And now we're coming to the end when the children of Israel had already left Egypt and the Egyptians were pursuing them, and that's a great lead into this calendar, because there's a few different ways this calendar has to do with redemption. And one of the ways that it has to do with redemption is specifically from this holiday alone. That is the seventh day of Passover, which is, although it is in the general theme of redemption and exodus of Egypt, it's distinctly, categorically different in the aspect of jumping in and not knowing what's going to happen and just going into it. That's what the splitting of the sea is all about. And that's where this calendar comes from in one place. There is a concept called the 72 letter name of God, which is a combination, or it is a breaking up or dividing up of 216 letters that comes from 3 verses in the portion of this holiday. There is a portion of this that talks about after the Israelites left Egypt, and then Pharaoh said, just go, just leave. And he was tired of all the plagues, I guess, so they left. But then they had a change. Pharaoh and the Egyptians had a change of heart, and they regretted letting the Israelites go. So they said, let's chase after them, bring them back. And so they started chasing after them, and the Israelites had been traveling a certain distance. Maybe it was, I'm not sure how long, maybe a couple of days, or a day or two, or whatever. And then the Egyptians came with their horses and chariots and their army, and they were pursuing them. And there's a verse, and for a while I was trying to memorize these 3 verses. These 3 verses each contain exactly 72 letters. And it talks about the angel of God. V'yisa malach ha'elohim ha'olech lefnei ha'am, v'yelech mi'achareihem. And the angel of God, it might be worth it just to actually get the verses out right now and recite them, because that's what this calendar is made of on one level. I'll explain how it connects to the calendar soon. But the calendar, you notice I said the Hebrew date and the English date. I call it English just for conventional, but the Gregorian date, the English date. It's a solar and lunar calendar. It's a redemption calendar. And it's a gematriatic quantum thought calendar. The verses come from Exodus chapter 14, verses 19, 20, and 21. And each one of those verses have exactly 72 letters, which makes a total of 216 letters, which when lined up in a certain way, the traditional, the classic way is the first verse forward, the second verse in reverse, and the third forward again. And then they're lined up, and as an acrostic vertically, you'll see three letters on top of each other. Those three letters make a word, and those words are the make up the 72 letter name of God, or the 72 three-letter names. And it's said that I just saw a teaching that Elisha the prophet either resurrected someone with these names, or miraculous. It was said that Moses, it was instrumental in God's splitting of the sea. Is the intention of these names. And so these are the verses. Vayisa malach Elohim haolech lefnei machane Yisrael. Then the angel of God, who had been going in front of the Israelite camp, vayelech me'achareihem, moved and went behind them. So vayisa is meaning he moved. Vayisa, he traveled. And he went behind them. Vayisa malach amud ha'anan mipneihem ve'amod me'achreihem. And the pillar of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. So now, if you picture this, you have the angel of God. However you picture the angel of God, the angel of God was before the camp, went behind the camp, and the pillar of cloud went behind the camp. So now you have both the angel and the pillar of cloud behind the camp. And the pasuk says, in the next pasuk, it says, Vayavo bein machane, Vayavo, in the singular. And he came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. Vayavo is singular, but the verse before just said there were two entities, or two aspects, or two, whatever you want to call it. So why does the verse say Vayavo, and it came? Which one? Was it the angel, or was it the pillar of cloud? And the verse, on the simple explanation, just seems to say yes. Is it the pillar of cloud, or is it the angel? And he came between the camp. The verse seems to speak of these two as one person. Vayavo ben machane Mitzrayim uben machane Yisrael vayi ha'anan ve'achoshech vaya'eres halayla v'lo karav ze el ze kol halayla. And he, it just says, and he, meaning the angel and the pillar of cloud. And he, you could say, some might say it's the angel, because the pillar of cloud wouldn't be called the he, but it still says that there are two distinct aspects, to distinct persons. I don't know if that's the right word, but energies, maybe. Two things. I don't know if that's a good word either, but at any rate, it says between the two camps. And between camp Israel, there were the cloud and the darkness. There were the cloud and the darkness, and it illuminated the night. How does a cloud and darkness illuminate the night? That's always been puzzling to me. And there were the cloud and the darkness, and it illuminated the night. And one did not draw near the other all night long. Who did not draw near the other? I guess you could say that the camp of Israel and Egypt didn't draw. That would be a simple explanation. Maybe the light and the darkness didn't come near each other. I mean, there's different aspects you can read this. Verse 21 says, Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam, vayolech Adonai et hayam beruach kadim aza kol halayla, vayasem et hayam lacharava ve'bakul hamayim. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord led the sea with a strong east wind all night. He made the sea into dry land, and the water split. Now, you might be asking, what does that verse have to do with this calendar? And I'll tell you. I'll show you. If you're familiar, if you can look, it would be helpful to look up 72-letter name of God and study the table that it's on. Because if you look at the table that it's on, it is exactly like this. It is exactly formulated just as this is. And here's the interesting thing. When I started making this calendar, I had no idea about the 72-letter names. I had no idea. Maybe I heard about it once or twice, but I had no idea what it looked like. I didn't know how it was structured, ordered, and how it's written down. But if you look at it at a table of the 72-letter names, it's 8 columns and 9 rows, 72. Now this is 8 columns and 10 rows, but you don't have to use this last line here. It would still function as the chart for the 72-letter name, which comes from this holiday. That's very important about this. And it's especially important now because now, after almost 14 years of this calendar, which I started got started in the year 2012. And if you want to count the spring of 2012, then it actually is 14 years old now. And that's when the original ideas for it came, but it actually took its shape and form in the late summer, Elul time of 2012. So 14 years later, and it is about to complete. In this May, it will be complete, which means I won't put it away. I'll still be using it, but it's all of the phases have been complete. There are 2 extra phases that are going to happen after the 3 phases, but these 2 phases are only scheduled to last for a year and a half. So the next phase will be 1 year, and the next phase will be a half a year, and then it's really over. But now it's over in terms of up until this point. But enough has been developed with this calendar to really understand, or at least get an idea of where I'm going with it. That's after 14 years. And throughout these 14 years, I would have explained it a different way each year. But now it's pretty clear what it is. It is a lunar and solar calendar used for the sake of the gematria, of gematriatic calculations, for the sake of calculating Torah codes, for the sake of the ultimate redemption and the coming of the Messiah. And so this calendar has been used for different things, but what it has been used for in the past year, I would say, is a meditation of the 72-letter names of God. And if you use it as a regular calendar of just for the dates and stuff, of course you would read it from left to right, like we read numbers. However, in Hebrew, the Hebrew language reads from right to left. So there's another way of counting that goes it's in reverse of the way it usually goes. So the first square would be here, the second square here, third, and then it goes like this. Whereas the regular way it goes like this. And now is the time that all the orders, all the counting, my whole method of learning was just counting. I had a motto for myself: if you don't understand it, just count it, and then you'll get something from it. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years, even before 14 years ago. But this process started about 14 years ago. And anything that I would want to understand, hard, abstract, difficult to understand Kabbalistic concepts, if I didn't know it, I would just get its gematria, And now I have a number, I have something concrete. And then I would line them up, put them in order, and just count them, like we're counting the Omer right now. I don't understand it, but I can count it. And interestingly enough, just by dwelling on it and counting it and keeping track of it, there's some benefit from that. I'm not saying I know it even as much as I should, or even a small amount, but maybe a tiny amount, yes. So this is the PL-89 Gematria Quantum Thought Calendar, and I'm very pleased to announce that this May it will be, the work is done, and maybe, who knows what kind of results. Interestingly, it coincides with other things that are coming to completion, so that's what actually corroborated it, actually reinforced it, actually showed that it was a good intuition, because the Teku project is also, God willing, coming to end in the first week of May 2026. And just to leave off with this, that the way it's used is to find the numbers of the day, the solar and lunar number, which is based on Psalm 72. And today is the 20th of Nisan, so the lunar number in this dispensation would be right here. And that number is 40. And that would be the lunar number, but the solar number is April 7th, and April 7th will be a 9. So then the two numbers are added together, because the verse says in Psalms, you will be feared with the sun and before the moon many generations. So the sun and the moon are put together. They're put together in the verse, and they are the themes of this calendar as well. I used to sing a song before, for a period of time when I was wearing the sombrero. The two calendars are one, match the moon up with the sun. Yaakov and Esav, Tikkun and Tohu, and with that our work is done. And another line was, it is simple to sing the tune, match the sun up with the moon. With the sun and before the moon, as per Psalm 72. So 49 is the PL-89 number for today. And PL-80 and 49 in English Gematria has a numerical value of 126, which is the Hebrew Gematria of the word horse. I'll leave it at that.